Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, who was from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and he was a tax leader and was expressing his opinions on as regards the issue of the Naira that we're having right now, especially in relation to our president's speech this morning. Unfortunately, he had to leave to another very important meeting, so he couldn't continue with us. But at some point later on the show, we'll be having the senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, to come and give us a legal perspective to what our president said as regards contradicting the Supreme Court's judgment. So we'll have a conversation with Femi Falana later. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, we'd like to hear Nigerians' views on what's been said so far concerning the economic impact, because according to Mr. Oyedele, he was saying that the fact that you want Nigerians to come and swap or return money to the CBN is completely wrong, especially because about 98% of those of us within the banking system have less than 500,000 naira. So for those of us who have very minimum money, we should be allowed to go to the banks to as long as possible. It's the big wigs or the politicians or the big people who have money, they're the ones that should be going to CBN because they're the ones you're really trying to catch. So these are some of the conversations that have been said so far. What are your thoughts on this? What are your experiences? Call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. My worry is that we've always known that our president was not economically strong from day one. And one of the cardinal points he had when he was coming was that he was the anti-corruption. He was coming to help and he was a former military man, so he was going to help us fight insecurity and all that. But economy has never been his strength. I think also Professor Wole Soyinka said it also, that economy has never been his strength. So it's very clear that he's mostly, for the most part, dependent on people's advice to him. Now, when he's been advised by possibly just one man, because the Ministry of Finance said, I'm not involved. The other financial institutions are not involved. They're not part of this meeting. He had an economic team that are not part of this decision. It's only Mr. Emefiele, what's the new name now? Emefiele, Mr. Emefiele. He's the only one that the president is listening to concerning this. Isn't that a problem?
It's a problem. Especially, okay, so there's a reason why when you hold certain positions, you're not supposed to be politically inclined, because that will impede or obstruct when you're supposed to be objective. If you have a job to do and you're supposed to balance all sides, you're supposed to make sure that you are working for the interest of the people, and then you're politically inclined, it's going to blindside you to things that ordinarily you would have seen to say, okay, if I, project this policy or make this policy, it's not going to work for the common man. But because there's something else in your mind, you will not see it. And it's also okay to make a mistake and go back to the drawing board, apologize for your mistake and say, okay, we reeled this out too quickly. We had not considered all the sides. We're seeing the backlash right now, and I want to take a step back so that we will review and come back. That makes you a leader. If you do something and you don't do it well, go back and think about it, replan it, and come back with a better and stronger policy. But to insist that since we have made it, this is how we are going, you are leading us to hell.
Based on what you said now, let me just, for a president, I know that my CBN governor just ran for office. He ran for presidency in the primaries, and he lost. That in itself already would already tell me as a president, are you sure that you're the right person for me to be engaging on this thing? Let me get more people, because in itself, he has interest.
Yes,
there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, especially giving this administration, before the election started, we heard of some people that were resigning because they knew they were going to run for office.
Yes, simple.
So they would not compromise the office that they were holding.
It
just, and also, largely is that how do you have an administration where just the president and the CBN governor can decide economic policies that affect all of Nigerians? It does not make sense. Whoever comes in after, and before then, we need to, I hope that the legislators are hearing, what do we need to do going forward so something like this does not happen? If you're making any policies concerning Nigeria and you do not put into consideration, you do not sit down with stakeholders and have that conversation with them and look at all the factors and how it will affect Nigerians, then it is not a policy. It cannot be pushed. It does not make sense. Someone, even if the president goes ahead with it, somebody from, the House of Reps or House of Assembly should be able to put a stop to this. And then we're now talking about conversations where the integrity of the Supreme Court is now nothing. The court will tell the federal government to do one thing, the federal government ignores it, the CBN president who has the audacity to ignore it.
Well, let me pause you for a second, because I'm told now we have our senior advocate of Nigeria. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Femi Falana, but we were able to get somebody else, Mr. Wale Taiwo. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on such a short notice. Let me start off on where Mariam left off now. She just mentioned the contradiction. One moment the Supreme Court has said that the Naira 200, 500, and 1,000 notes are still legal tenders, according to the judgment last week. And here, the president this morning is contradicting the Supreme Court's judgment, insisting that 1,000 and 500 Naira notes is no longer a legal tender, and only 200 Naira is back in the system. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it only shows the level of degeneration we have depended to in this country. Honestly speaking, in a constitutional democracy, you find out that whatever the Supreme Court says has the toga of finality and order or judgment of the court, not even just Supreme Court, is valid and subsisting until set aside, and is binding over authorities and persons. So, for the president to now come out and now sign to daily the terms of the judgment or order as made by the Supreme Court only shows the level of abuse in which we have degenerated into this country. So, I don't know. I thought when I listened to this morning, I developed this people.
Yeah.
That we are getting in this country. It's totally wrong.
Sir, can the president be held in contempt? Can the president be held in contempt?
Why not? The president is not over and above the constitution. Yeah. Everybody is subjected to the dictates and provision of the constitution of the country. Another made against the company or an agency of the government is valid and subsisting and has to be enforced and carried by those authorities and persons until set aside, notwithstanding whatever the meaning is, either rightly or wrongly means. That is the position of the law. Right. And we must respect it.
I'm just wondering, I mean, this is such a laudable act by our president. He wants to curb corruption. He wants to stop vote buying. I'm wondering why he didn't do it 4 years ago when he was running for a re-election.
Well, that is about the policy of the government. They can decide to do it whatever time they want to do it. That is not left for the generality of the people to know whether it's timely or it's not timely. But what I am against is a situation whereby an institution will believe that is over and above the institution of the judiciary. We are operating a constitutional democracy, and we must respect the rule of law and the supremacy of the Constitution.
Okay, so the governors of some states have threatened to prosecute companies, banks that fail to accept these old Naira notes. As of yesterday, some states were saying that, listen, I will prosecute you. You must accept 500, 1,000, and 200 Naira notes. Now, from what the president has said today, he puts everybody in a limbo. What do you think is the right thing? What's going to happen to these companies who the state governors are saying that we will prosecute you? Now, the president has now spoken. How is that going to play out, do you think?
Like me.
That's just the confusion in the country now. Wow. When the Supreme Court has given an order, and that order is now being made by an institution of government or by the president, I think whatever the Supreme Court says, until set aside or buried, remains the position of the law. So whoever is prosecuted, that is a good defense of the fact that he is obeying the lawful order as made by the Supreme Court. So they have a defense.
So, sir, okay, he's still speaking.
No, he's great.
Who would hold who responsible now? What do we do now? Okay, they said the court has said the status quo should remain, and then the president is saying it should not remain, but you could have 200 naira notes. So what do we do now as citizens? If you follow the trend, you see that a lot of people are so angry, they are destroying banks, destroying ATMs. There's civil unrest, so to speak, and it's brewing on a daily. What do we do as citizens? Who would help us? Who will bail us out now?
Who will even follow? Is it Supreme Court or president?
Who do we follow?
You have to follow the Supreme Court order.
How?
You have to follow the Supreme Court order.
Oga don't talk. Oh.
It's not together, there is nobody that is above the law. Everybody under the Constitution and the law, we are all levelers. So it is not a matter of Oga has spoken. It's only just show the confusion in our system. It's only in Nigeria this kind of a thing will happen. That the Supreme Court will say something and the head of the executive will say something contrary.
Well, I'd like to find out.
In finality, the buck stops at the table of the Supreme Court.
Right.
Okay, so in a situation where, like, as it has happened now, has it ever happened anywhere anytime in our history or anywhere in another country? And how did the country, or how did we handle it at the time? What is the next move that the Supreme Court is supposed to make when something like this happens?
Well, it's less for those who have taken the matter before the Supreme Court to set the machinery of law in motion, to cite the AG in contempt. If you go down in history, that is the attorney general of a regime that has decided to rub shoulder with the Supreme Court and decide not to carry out the order of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so one more thing. I mean, Nigerians are reminding us, you know, there was a Supreme Court judgment recently on even Nnamdi Kanu, and the president did not even, the federal government did not budge, you know. So these are, we've seen cases like this happen several times. Even during Dasuki, at some point, we had court cases, there are subsisting judgments, but still the federal government did not budge. And nothing has happened. Many people still, we talk about it, we complain, we condemn, and then we move on. Nigerians don't want this to move on. So you said that hopefully the Attorney General of the Federation can take put the presidency and to take this up again with the Supreme Court. Who else? And the governors are also part of this case. Do you think the governors too can also sue the president on this?
What they should know, Murayo, is that we are all players, and whatever we do today is a matter of history. So the time is coming in this country where people will be held accountable for their past deeds. And I can assure you, we are very close to that.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Taiwo. I'll let you go at this time. You know, I've heard this, people will be held accountable at some point. You know what, I just keep thinking to myself.
How do we hold them accountable?
You know.
So they say we should obey the court, and then you go to the market to pay for your goods, and nobody's collecting the money. The person that is supposed to be collecting the money cannot exchange it in the bank. So who is fooling who? How do we obey when it's not going to work? Nobody's going to collect the money.
Who has held IBB responsible for the annulment of June 12? Like, these are questions that posterity will judge you. The future will judge you.
Who
is holding who?
People say that's a military government, and it was not, you know. But this is different.
This is supposed to be democracy. I just want to answer because a lot of people are saying on YouTube that we are fighting for APC. I can never fight for APC. Let me just say my own. I cannot say I am fighting because it is Enuba Lomo. It don't reach me. I am affected personally because I run a business that collects cash. And I've not chopped government money before. So I have not gone to, I have 100,000 naira and I can't take it. They say I should take it to CBN.
How?
Well, look, they want to put 200 naira. During the course of my business over the years, 200 naira is the least money. You don't see it
anymore.
You don't see 200 naira. So where is the 200 naira they're going to pump into the market? I couldn't cook a 4 yesterday because nobody was collecting the money. And I don't have new money. Okay, those with new money, let us know. My brother had to buy new money yesterday. It doesn't make sense
But
to me.
with all due respect, is Buhari not APC? Who's talking about ACC? I would have maybe Nigerians will talk. YK, don't respond to these people.
I'm just
they will speak.
responding.
You don't have to respond.
I have to respond my own personal. This is the personal response.
Okay, we've got to your personal response. We got to the point. Hello, sir. Thanks for calling. I told you.
I have a message here. Ola Didi says, even courts are rejecting old notes, thereby disobeying Supreme Court's order. What else can the common man do then? Chaos plus confusion equals anarchy. And that is what is happening. You are saying obey court order.
Read that thing again.
Even courts are rejecting old notes, thereby disobeying Supreme Court's order. Courts that are supposed to uphold
Mr. Wale Tawoda said that Supreme Court is above all.
Here for us to ask him that question because I wanted to even bring it up. Because when I saw that courts in the papers today, that courts are rejecting the money, and I said, Shebi they
are the ones that made the law.
Said you must accept it. So if court is rejecting it, there is nobody else that's going to accept it.
Yeah. Let's just say that the kind of government that we're running is not...
Exactly.
Just tell
I've been saying this from time immemorial. We need to review this our democracy. This system of government that we're working on.
Well, you don't have respect for the role that every part plays.
Because the countries that uphold democracy have a respect for the system. They respect. They understand you're a police officer. If I stop you, I stop. Once my siren goes off, I stop because it is my civic responsibility to stop. So they respect the constitution of their various countries, but we don't.
Yeah.
You have to chase people with cane to stop their cars. You have to use Okada to chase them to stop. So this democracy is not even ripe.
We are not doing democracy.
Republic of Benin, Togo. You know those policemen, they don't carry gun.
Yes, now.
They just do, they don't burn you.
Exactly.
Not to stop. I've seen it happen.
So if a whole president can defy a Supreme Court judgment,
so
several times.
Some people will also say, oh, like you gave some examples that happened over time and things like that. But we're talking also of the fact, we're talking of a time and a situation where I'm sure that our president watches television and I'm sure that he reads the newspaper or he has it read to him somehow. And he can see that Nigerians are groaning. And this is what they're saying. We're not saying your policy is wrong. In fact, there's so many people that agree with this policy because we really want to stop the corruption. We really want to stop vote buying. But at what cost? The people that are on the street protesting and breaking things, and at what cost? All you have to do is sit down and think about the betterment of your own citizens. I mean, I've looking at the speech today, it just seems to me like someone who is really not in tune or willing to understand what's happening.
Look like
that was why I was asking, like, what is the time frame for what we're expecting? Okay, yes, it's tough times now, but in 2 weeks, this will all phase out because this is and this is what's going to happen. We don't even have a time frame for what we're doing. It just does not seem like we're listening to Nigerians or we care about Nigerians much, and that's what this is all about.
Let me take this call from Yakub. Good morning, are you there?
Mariah, I'm there.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
It is unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. If a president of the country, when he was sworn in 2 times, he promised to uphold the constitution of the land. But today, it is the other way around. Now, they were trying to tell us that they want to cut the vote buying. Morayo, it is a lie from the pit of hell.
Ew.
The people that you are trying to cut, that they don't want to allow them to buy food. It is not the day of election they were buying food. That is one thing they don't know. And then even done with that, what concerns Emefiele, anything where it's maybe consigned by cutting people that want to buy? Is it his job to catch the thief? Where the police, where the DSS, where the other security officials to do that? See, Morayo, here in Lagos, we are still better a bit. Go to my village. I went to my village these days. Last time, Morayo, they were passed through here. You know why? Why? Because some local government, before you can even get to a bank, you will travel all the way like almost 50 miles. So what are you talking about? In fact, you will see some old women, I see tears when I go to my village. They have this money, but the money is useless. And then they were begging for food. And then Mr. President, that I personally campaigned for, he's doing this.
You know, some have described this as the most domestic terrorism in the sense that people have died. People have actually died as a result of this in the last 1 or 2 weeks. They can't get food. This is like a direct terror on people because you are suppressing them and you are also subjecting them to this new policy that is affecting their means of livelihood.
Look, you know that Nigeria, we're a tipping nation. We love to tip people.
Yes.
All those people who expect tips,
they can't get them.
They can't get tips. Nobody's going to tip them.
Exactly.
Because nobody has the money to tip them.
I couldn't tip the guy that helped me carry stuff the other day. I couldn't say, sorry, I don't get cash.
So you can see the discontent on the faces of those people.
That kind of person that starts stealing from you. So from when parking your car, he can actually mug you. Because you're giving them options.
I heard that over the weekend. I have not verified it, but I heard over the weekend that an eatery where they sell chicken was robbed. Armed robbers entered there. The armed robbers know that they're not going to see money inside that place now. What have they gone for? Chicken.
Hey.
So that's what the hunger has reached there.
And you know one thing about this is not the fact that we're saying, oh, there's some people down in, you know when you hear, oh, in Zamfara, so far away that are going through these issues. I know people face to face that are saying, if not for this money that you just gave me, I would not have eaten. This is the last money I have and I'm buying food in my house. Or as of right now, I have no food in my house. And I'm talking of normal, regular people that, you know, you see. We're not talking of people that you may think, oh, it's happening to them because they're in a faraway village. We're talking to people, normal people who go to work, who close from work, who do their best for their country, who have children in school, and they're saying that they cannot even afford to buy food. Not afford to buy food because they do not have money that they earn, though. And you know what's paining Nigerians? It's like, this is money that I earned. This is my money in the bank, and you're refusing to give it to me. What am I even asking for? Just give me a few of my notes so I can go to the market and get food for my children, so I can inject it into my business and sell more. So that the food that's just lying down, getting spoiled on the farms and the markets would be used properly. That's what Nigerians are talking about. And a policy that does not understand that it has a direct human impact. I don't know how, what we're thinking. Every policy we make has a direct human impact. That's what policies are about.
I'm told we have Dr. Charles Omole, is a lawyer, security consultant, trainer, and strategist to businesses and governments across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And he's on the phone to us. I wanted you to ask him that question concerning the fact that the Supreme Court says something, even the courts themselves are not collecting
the money.
Sir, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Go ahead, BC, any question?
Okay, good morning, sir. The last guest told us that we must follow the Supreme Court's judgments, that at least that's the height of everything. But unfortunately, some lawyers have not been able to push their cases in court because the courts are rejecting the money. So if the courts can reject the money, knowing what the Supreme Court has said, who are we and what do we do?
Well, I mean, the courts rejecting the money, I think it's probably a function of the fact that the money we have to end up in the banks. So if they collect it, where will they take it? I think that kind of hides from the bigger picture and bigger challenge with this whole policy. The difficulty, I think, with this current Naira redesign is the fact that it's almost like trying to use one medication to cure 10 illnesses. And that tends not to work. Every Naira or currency redesign tends to have focused intentions, either to secure the note more, so they bring new security features, or to mop up money supply in the population. But the moment you begin to have things like you want to stop vote buying and all these other political considerations, you model up that policy, and that creates a problem. I mean, if, for example, government wants to stop people buying votes, they know where this money is kept. The politicians that have this money stacked up somewhere, the intelligence services know where they are. There are ways they could have done this without inflicting this pain on the entirety of the population.
Exactly.
Because all the challenges we are facing with this right now, they are all foreseeable. in making policy, one of the key things you have to look at is what are the foreseeable impacts of this decision.
Dr.
And
Charles,
more importantly, yes.
let me ask you this question Nigerians are really worried about. The fact that the federal government can actually disobey a Supreme Court order and nothing happens. Are we running a democracy or not?
Well, that is a problem. I agree. I mean, we have a government right now that feel they can do pretty much what they like. And I think that clearly is a problem. This is not the first time the government are disobeying court orders. You know, even the CBN governor that is disobeying court order now went to the court late last year to get an injunction against himself being arrested. And that was even the High Court. You know, and yet, you know, they use the court when it favors them, then they disobey the court when it doesn't favor them. At the end of the day, this just shows a clear drift in governance, no clear control. Everybody's just doing what they like. And I think it's a sad commentary on Nigeria as a nation that, I mean, the pain I've seen all over the place is immense. People are really suffering from this policy.
Right.
So, I mean, for a government to now allow, you know, I mean, what the president said this morning, in my own opinion, is too little too late. You could have said it last month. You could have said it last week. You know, why wait till the 9 minutes when lots of people are already there? So I feel generally that as a country, we need to focus. I mean, even a lot of I've seen you've had guests in the past where this whole economic paradigm that Emefiele is sort of spewing around is actually not even sound economics.
Yes, we've been told, we've seen that over time. I mean, everybody's saying it, that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any economic sense. It's not going to curb inflation because there's still going to be cash in the system, either we're transferring or not.
It doesn't
When you are buying
Inflation
50,000 with 40,000 with 50,000, is that not inflation?
So
That's not even inflation on commodities, it's inflation on Naira.
all right, there's a question I wanted to ask you concerning all the destruction. I mean, in Edo, I think in Lorry, but people were just destroying ATMs. And I'm thinking to myself, these are the ATMs we are struggling to go and withdraw. Is it not 5,000 or 10,000 naira?
But the monies are not coming out of those ATMs.
Yeah, but at least if they're not finally. So, as a lawyer, what do you think the banks can do? I mean, yes, it's not the bank's fault, and they're just working on the instructions of the CBN. How do we remodel this law such that the CBN doesn't have this kind of full control? Because they seem to have so much control, don't you think?
That is true, but I think we have a CBN governor that I think is unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. You would have thought he was working for a military junta, not a democratic
administration.
country.
Yeah.
I mean, the challenge at the moment is the fact that people, when they are pushed to the wall, will do whatever they feel they need to do. The destruction of properties is not very good. But then, Emefiele for a long time was blaming the banks for all the problems, that the banks are keeping the money.
Yeah.
So people vented their anger on where he said.
Can the bank sue Emefiele for that?
Technically, maybe, but in reality, no, because CBN is their regulator. So clearly, you can't. Even if you sue, there will be all kinds of, fallback on you. I mean, I've spoken to the MDs of a few banks in the last week, and I asked them, why are you not speaking out? And what they told me was, we speak out, CBN will punish us one way or the other.
Yeah.
So everybody's keeping quiet because they are afraid of ways CBN have to kind of eat back at them. So it's not a question whether they can sue, but the issue is they will not sue for those obvious reasons.
CBN is the head of state.
So, Dr. Mole, there are some Nigerians that feel that anyone who is criticizing the way this policy is being implemented has some political affiliations or leanings, and they're against, the anti-corruption war. Is that how you see it, and how do you, or if not, how do you see it, and what would you say to people saying that?
Well, I mean, this is what I call the danger of single story. A lot of Nigerians, I don't think, have the critical thinking capacity to understand the fact that you can support the policy but disagree with the way to implement it. And I think that's the issue here. Everybody seems to have their own pet, disease that they feel this currency redesign will cure. For those who feel this will help stop vote buying, they are closing their eyes to every other consequence. They are just fixated on that one agenda. And others have their own reasons for this. But you have to be able to do what I call 360-degree thinking, which is to analyze the impact of a policy from every conceivable angle. When you do that, you'll be able to say, okay, this is a good policy. Up to this point, it's fine. But these are the ways you could have done it to make it better. That balanced, cool-headed thinking is not reflected in Nigerian society at the moment. You just have to go online, and you see that those who feel this is what they wanted to do are blinded to everything else. 100 people might be dying around them, they don't care, so long as it stops vote buying. And that's also, there are ways we can walk and chew at the same time. We can stop vote buying through many other ways without inflicting this on the people. So I feel, therefore, I don't agree that if you criticize the implementation, it means you don't support the policy. I personally support the policy. But there are ways this could have been done in ways that will, be better for everybody. But they've just botched the whole thing. And that's really, really sad. That's really sad.
Professor Isel Sage was saying, I think a few days ago, that maybe somebody should arrest Godwin Emefiele. I mean, put him in prison for like 1 week or so. Maybe he can recalibrate his brain. I mean, he was just saying, maybe all jokingly, but can the Supreme Court, because I think BC was asking the question now, if the Supreme Court said this, President is saying that, what can we do? What's the next line of action? So can the Supreme Court order for the arrest of Godwin Emefiele for at least, we know Contempt. The presidency has immunity, but can the Supreme Court request for the arrest of Godwin Emefiele for this pronouncement by the president today?
It's contempt now.
In this case, I don't think so. Wow. Because if you actually look at the papers filed, while Emefiele himself was not named specifically of CBN, because if the states that filed the case, if they had included the CBN or Emefiele, then it will have to start. Then that will outside the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court original jurisdiction has to do with more state-to-state matter, not personal or institutional grievances. So that we have to mean this will about to start from the High Court and then work their way up. So cleverly, they removed CBN and personal individuals away from being joined and made it a state-to-state affair.
Right.
But the key point here is the fact that the president gives the order. The CBN Act is very clear. It's at the instruction of the president. So clearly, basically, they can easily hide behind the fact that I'm acting as instructed. So, and of course, the president has immunity. Look, in Senate climate, if a governor or a president or anybody in public office disobeys even the High Court order, and it's a democratically elected position, that person is bound to lose the next election. Because that's the way the democratic society, you hold our systems, our officials accountable. You can't have a president or an elected official disobeying court order and then still win the next election. That will never happen.
Right.
The problem we have in Nigeria is...
Let me get one question in for you before we go, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So I would like to know, in your view, what you think the average Nigerian, who right now doesn't have cash to even buy food, can do to survive, pending when the CBN governor or the president or the Supreme Court solves this matter. What can we do in the interim? And also, the civil societies, I'm not hearing so much. Isn't this the time they're supposed to probably get international help to help us chop first? That's just the question.
It's about politics.
Well, I mean, the problem is that a lot of civil society groups are fixated on the issue of vote buying. So as far as they are concerned, this will help vote buying, and they feel the game is what can, so to speak.
Okay.
which I don't agree with. But in terms of what ordinary Nigerians can do, there's very little we can do at the moment. All that we're at the mercy of the government in terms of how we get money and cash on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles Omole. Let me allow you to go. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views this morning on this matter. I know that the Lagos State governor has started sharing palliatives to some people. I was hearing they're carrying boxes here and there. Governors are beginning to find solutions, at least to their citizens, at least in the meantime, until these people resolve the confusion. Between now and next week, they're giving palliatives. And that's states that can afford it. Other states that can afford it. Yes. That's Lagos that can possibly afford it, and maybe a few other states. But what of states that can't afford it? Ordinary salary they cannot pay. Is it palliative they want to go and give their citizens? So
how many people do you want to give palliative?
Exactly. To to get to there's some proper, people grassroots that need that palliatives. So we are hoping that maybe after elections, Mr. Emefiele and the Emefiele can change the policy.
Okay, so maybe that's what the timeline I've been
talking about. So now that once the elections are over, let me say
properly, not telling us that.
Godwin Emefiele may reverse the policy. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying hopefully after the elections and they've announced the winner, possibly
they will not reverse.
They will not reverse it because obviously we can't continue like this.
At that time,
hopefully
they don't need vote buying again.
Election is next week now.
Next week Saturday, so
we should
maybe
die
Monday,
before the elections because people need to eat. People need to go for medical care. People need things to be done. So how do we do it before the elections? Very important.
Where hospitals were refusing to take cash because they were not giving them the new cash.
They were not giving them new cash. Transactions were not going.
But the blood of those who have died, who takes responsibility? Like these young 4 guys that died yesterday doing all this protest. Somebody's hands are stained with somebody's blood.
They will judge the matter.
God will have to judge this matter because it's unfair.
So we need to understand that we are not operating a democracy. Let's stop lying to ourselves.
Yes.
This is demonstration of Chris. We're not a federal system. We're not operating a federal system of government. This is a unitary, so to speak. So Nigerians will pick a title and then do it their own way, where the leaders are the ones that dictate what will happen and they are not listening to other people. We need to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, where do we want to go? Yeah. If democracy is not going to work for us, let us go back to monarchy system. Let's find something tailored to suit our own that will work for us. This is not working for us. And it is very unfair that in 2023, these are the issues we are dealing with in a country like Nigeria, where we're supposed to be dealing with things, innovations that will lift us and move us forward. We are still harassing ourselves over coloring Naira, rule of law and all of that.
This is supposed to move us forward.
Oh, really?
I didn't know. Cashless.
It's supposed to move us forward. But we are in permanent reverse right now. We are not even reversing with our back. We have turned and are reversing with our front.
Okay, we have to take a few comments before we run off because I have about 5 minutes left. So let's take a few comments on social media. But the point is that Nigerians are groaning in pain. Let me let you go, Mariam. Go ahead, please.
Dami says, good morning, ladies. God bless you all for this program. This Naira issue is not funny. Imagine I had to borrow money to go out yesterday. The woman gave me old note. Getting to the island, I was able to withdraw 4,000 with 500 Naira charges so I can refund her. But to my greatest surprise, the woman just changed it for me, that she cannot take the money again. I was shocked. Her reason is that no one is collecting old money anymore, even though that's what she had given her in the morning.
So Omoyeni says, this is really disheartening. I spoke with my parents and they can't even buy food to eat. Imagine people in their 70s going to bed hungry when they have money in the bank. Nigeria needs help. Andrew says, you don't rush policies like this. It should have been done for at least 2 years.
All right, so somebody here say, Buhari and Emefiele, they are legends, allowing only old 200 Naira notes to be in circulation until April 10th.
Femi says, I have to reason how to get to work and money to buy things. Going cashless has limited my buying basic things. I pity the aged who are not literate enough.
Ade Noble Bliss says, let's hope that the elections will hold because at this rate, anything can happen. I see the current situation ominous of an unharmonious election, if any. And that's the fear most people have. I hope that the elections will hold because if we are having this sort of civil unrest already in different parts of the country, only God knows what will happen on the day of the election.
But Buhari did not mention anything about palliatives. He didn't mention that, okay, let me help some system. I need help because there are states that they're having issues. Remember, we're told that banks are very far, sometimes 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers from various villages. So people are finding it very difficult to do that trip. It's just going to take maybe 10,000 or 5,000 naira.
Or even 1,000.
Our government representatives, we should send them, when they come into office, we should send them to the villages to go and have their offices there and see how regular Nigerians are living. When you live in the city and everything, you forget. You create a bubble and forget how many more Nigerians are actually living.
Did you read IFEMI's tweet?
No.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So we saw the tweet from Andrew S. Nevin. He says, your federal government point about banknotes outside system retarding economic activity is absolute economic nonsense.
Okay.
So a lot of economists have said that that position, they're trying to mop up all the money outside, it doesn't make any economic sense. For those economists, we might have to bring a few more to have a better understanding, because this is the advice our president is getting from Godwin Emefiele. And for some reason, our president has bought into this vision, and he has agreed, because he said it himself, that he approved the remodeling of the Naira last quarter 2022. So he's well aware of what's going on. So before everybody absorbed Buhari, say, oh, it's Emefiele. No, it's not Emefiele. Buhari is very, very aware of this.
Now
and yes, he's just using Emefiele.
We're calling Emefiele because we're saying that you advise.
Should know better.
Yes,
you advise this.
And maybe he didn't take his advice.
Yes, but we have seen in other countries where you don't take advice. I'm sorry, I cannot be part of this policy, and thereby I resign because this is not, in keeping with my values or whatever. The Minister of Finance is quite silent on this issue. She has been quiet.
Those people have integrity now.
She has been quite quiet on
this.
Yes.
They did not even call her when they were in the meeting. So,
well, there you have it. Our president have spoken. The Supreme Court they've also adjourned the case to, I think, September 2022. No, September. What am I saying?
No,
next week.
February 2022.
February
22.
22nd of February next week. We'll hear the Supreme Court's ruling after they heard the counter suit from the federal government. So we'll hear what they have to say, but that'll be way too close to the elections. I mean, things that have really, really happened. But we're hoping that state governors should find ways to offer palliatives to citizens, especially those who cannot access cash. ATMs have been destroyed in those states. I don't know how. I don't know if the insurance company will cover this, the fixing of these ATM, because what you've done is destroy these machines. Now, even if CBN now brings cash to them, how would you get the cash? You still have to go and line up. Now, the lines will now triple and quadruple because the ATMs don't work. So you all have to enter the bank. So by destroying banks, you've only made things harder for yourself.
Hey, Morayo, please, has anybody asked them why they have not brought out new money?
Remember they said now that they only printed 300 billion. They've mopped up 2.7 inside the system. So how do you replace 2.7 trillion with 300 billion? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why they're advising them, go and print outside. If your means doesn't have the capacity to print more than 300 billion, then print outside and bring, because we need more money in the system. So I have 10,000 in my account. I can only withdraw 2,000 because you've only printed 300 billion.
Banks don't even have the money again.
They don't. I was listening to the radio. This guy is a banker.
Don't even collect from CBN because CBN has already indicted them.
He can't lie that they don't have money inside the bank.
Yeah, they don't have.
If I was a bank manager, I won't collect new money.
CBN is not even giving.
I would just shut down
because
CBN has already implicated us and said that we are hoarding. So don't even bring your money into my bank. Go and distribute it to your people yourself. I don't want to be part of it. I wouldn't even collect from any CBN officer because you don't want to put in videos out there saying that I'm hoarding your money. I won't take your money.
CBN is not giving again. Money don't finish. That's the point. Now, when they give you first, you go, they do shakara. They are not giving. The banks don't have any money. So God will help us till next week. Let's see how we're going to survive.